Cassie. Thank you very much for joining me here today.
Great to be here.
We're considering a peculiar subject, the extractive industries and sustainable development. Isn't this an oxymoron?
Well, the first thing I would say is that I actually dislike the term extractives, in that there are natural resources that are renewable, such as forests, right, which constitute a really big part of the natural resource landscape in Canada. But I don't see it as contradictory. I think it's more the challenge is how we develop natural resources to achieve sustainable development objectives. Because there are three pillars, and the economic and social pillars are really essential that there be some kind of development in order to support those two pillars. And then the challenge is how do you kind of equate that with getting the kind of environmental standards that we're growing more and more to expect.
You have a long public service career in Canada, and Canada is frequently cited as a successful example of natural resource governance, mining, forestry, as you mentioned. What would you say has been Canada's greatest virtues in managing its natural resources?
I would say that we have a long history in Canada. So I think as Canadians we've learned from early mistakes, if you will, to look at ways of developing natural resources that are more inclusive when it comes to the governance of the process, as well as creating environmental regulations that sort of allow resources to be developed in a way that meets what Canadians expect. So I think it's really the evolution of environmental assessment processes across the country, of regulatory agencies, working with industry, because we have also industries that have demonstrated their own leadership in the mining sector, forestry sector. I can think of many that are real leaders on sustainable development. So there has been that, those partnerships have been really key to Canada's success.
A reoccurring theme in your career has been the focus of natural resource governance or natural resources industries and the care for the environment. Do you believe in the principle of a net positive impact?
Yes, I think there can be a net positive impact. I've seen that some of the very leading practices around forestry. We've gone through an amazing evolution in British Columbia from big clear cuts that were really devastating from an ecological perspective towards more special management. And as that evolution has, to me, pointed out that it is possible to achieve, economic results and environmental results and important social results. The social side is really the livelihoods that depend on resource development. So I do actually think it's possible. It's a little slower than some would want. It takes more real investment in terms of the design and governance, but the outcomes are really, I think, extremely, it's worth it. It's worth it to build that kind of a consensus.
Another interesting aspect of your career is you've worked as the General Counsel for Northern California, where your mission was to strengthen the linkages between Canada and Silicon Valley. What can the resource sector learn from Silicon Valley?
Oh, it can learn lots. I mean, particularly the whole potential of technology and innovation to every, I think they say that software is eating the world was one of the things that was always said in Silicon Valley, but I do believe that taking the approach of Silicon Valley and applying it to resource industries allows more innovation, and also there's just an incredible amazing frontier of being able to increase our knowledge of ecosystems. And that would be through sensors and data monitoring, which is all enabled by the technologies that come out of the Silicon Valley.
And what do you see for the future for the resource industry in terms of digitalization?
I did see, and I know that there's an enormous transformation underway. And some of it poses a challenge, because as the industry becomes more more adept at implementing technology, it can also have an impact on how many jobs are being created. And that's always been this sort of essential trade-off, is between the social and economic benefits to a community. And so if you take those away, then I really believe there's a challenge in how acceptable resource development will be. Yeah.
Cassie. Thank you very much for joining me.
Oh, yeah, thank you. It's been a really a pleasure. Thanks.